Charlie Kirk tweeted this out yesterday. The press spent 4 years screaming that Donald Trump would start a nuclear war. Instead, we got the Abraham Accords, the first presidential visit to North Korea, the end to ISIS, stability in Ukraine, and a planned withdrawal from Afghanistan. Under Joe Biden, that Afghan withdrawal became a national embarrassment. Israel is in its biggest war in a half a century, and Europe is in the biggest war since the defeat of Hitler. Everybody is waiting in fear, wondering what war will start next. Joe Biden's foreign policy is a calamity. So when you talk about in this book, breaking Biden, is that, I mean, how much of this do you talk about his decision-making and his failed policies?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. So the book is broken down into three sections. The first part is a family background and a history of some of these corrupt deals his family's doing overseas. I unearthed some new details, particularly about subject matters like the cancer moonshot that Joe's got going, which is a big grift to benefit his son-in-law. I was able to figure out the University of Delaware Biden Institute, which was another grift that was set up that has led to the flow of Chinese money into the University of Delaware. It's enriched Hunter, it's enriched his sister Valerie, and it's certainly enriched Joe to some degree. Things like that. That's the first third. And the final third of the book is all of his domestic policy failings. But I have a middle third, a huge chunk of the book, 4 chapters, that is dedicated specifically to things he's gotten wrong internationally. And that doesn't include his horrific border policy, which I always think of in moments like this, Sean, because the world is even more perilous than usual, and we have an open border. And he went out of his way to undo the policies that Donald Trump was putting in place that final year of office that were, of course, going to keep Americans safer. And so he went out of his way to make us less secure at the border. But yes, I've got 4 chapters on his foreign policy failings. And they're so famous, Sean. Every single time Joe Biden set his mind to something when it comes to diplomacy and international relations, he set us back.
Yeah.
The Ukraine war. I have a whole chapter where I document how Joe Biden's Ukraine-Russia policy put us in the position and put Putin in the position where he was going to be compelled to invade. Now, to be clear, Putin's more to blame than anyone. Putin's a bad guy, et cetera, of course. But next most to blame is Joe Biden. Joe Biden pressed all of Putin's buttons. He did nothing to tamp down Zelensky, and he let every indication go on that America was softening on Putin's red line, which was letting NATO absorb Ukraine, letting Ukraine into NATO, which Putin was never going to tolerate.
Right.
Whenever that rhetoric ramped up, Putin would invade somewhere. That's exactly what happened here. Joe Biden failed in that regard. So that's a major thing. Of course, I go through the Afghanistan withdrawal, which was even more stunning to me going through it as a research project than just reading the headlines. I document the $7 billion of weaponry that we left there, from drones to hundreds of thousands of rifles, aircraft, helicopters, body armor, all of the stuff that we left. And of course it was going to end up in the hands of terrorists. And that's exactly what we learned this week. And it goes on from there that we droned children and we just moved on. We accidentally droned a car full of children. 13 American service members died. All of this, he should have been removed from office on the spot from this failure. And now that failure is playing into what we're seeing over the weekend.